I'm glad,
Hold
first
on,
and
everybody.
foremost, that you are here with us. And I just want to take a couple of minutes to just get the audience in. I'm going to share on my page. So we're just going to take like 2 minutes just to get that started so we can go ahead and get people in the room. So just give me a second.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. In the audience, and I'm going to share on my page. So we're just going to take like 2 minutes just to get that. Okay. In the audience. All right. So let's chat, right? First and foremost, I just want to honor you and say thank you for, coming back into this space and talking. You were definitely one of the first people on board when we here to have started having real conversations about the epidemic, of crystal meth that has it, how it affected our community and just other struggles. One thing that I will say is that you have always, I'm sorry for the bad hair, I just got to take it off, it's annoying. You have always been very vulnerable and very honest and transparent. And your approach to that keeps the community empowered. And you give voice to others who may not feel confident enough about going public because fear of stigma that's related to substance use or HIV or monkeypox. I don't like the word monkeypox. I'm going to say orthopox, right? But there's so many stigmas that come with it, and people don't actually want to come out with their truth.
All right.
So I want to say thank you to you because you've been very instrumental in the very beginning when Baldwin We Care was having conversations about making positive changes. So thank you for being there, being a part of that. And thank you for coming back and sharing your story right here where you first started to build this thing up. So for those of you like, this is my nephew, you know how I feel about you. I love you. Nick, tell us, why did you decide to have this conversation here and why me?
Um, One, Barbara with Kid, like you said at the beginning. First, I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story. I already shared it as much as possible on social media without the lives, but why not come back to where you first started sharing your stories at the beginning with, So Tim gave me that opportunity, and Michael Haynes gave me that opportunity. So once you came to me, I wanted to keep it going, you know. But why I shared my story is because when it comes to our community, our people of color, I'm going to be straightforward. We're ignorant until things affect us. So by me being a part of this community, yes, a black gay male. Yes, I'm a part of the ballroom scene. Yes, I hit my struggles just like the next person. Um, if I put my story out there, hopefully people will take it serious. Now, honestly, I know I can't help everyone, but at least if I can touch a few, that enough for me to help, start things off.
Thank you for being brave. Like I said, it takes a lot, right? We are a community that are taught to suffer in silence. Earlier on, don't tell people your business, keep it to yourself. What goes on in the house stays in the house, and we've come fostering those cultures to protect us from actually being vulnerable. But when you move beyond that and you're able to be vulnerable, that's very brave, and I admire you for that.
Thank
So,
you.
orthopox, you have made a video and you said basically you were saying this is real. It's happening. Here's a look in. So can I ask you like what were some of the symptoms or what how did you become aware that something was wrong?
So first, I know you said I made a video. I had actually, with me, I didn't do the live. I more so put pictures first.
Right.
What made me actually want to do that was because at first, like I don't know if a few people remember, I had made a post about some body wash that broke me out at the beginning of July. At the same time that the body wash did break me out, I had two bumps that showed up. One looked like a pimple, and one was on the shaft of my penis. Now, with that being said, like I just took it as a regular bump. But once the flu-like symptoms, the exhaustion, my body aching, I was fevers and the chills. Once those things start kicking in, that's what made me like, okay, let me go see what's going on. And that was like a week after, to be honest, that was a week after the Unity Ball, and I remember hugging a bunch of people. So once that first situation started, I was like, okay, let me get into care. After I went to see my doctor the first time, within the next 3 days, I had a total of 17 bumps, blisters that popped up on my face. That's what made me go to the ER, and that's what started the process of me putting my pictures and becoming vulnerable to let everyone know, okay, this is what's going on. It's here.
I appreciate that. And you said once it's banned and you saw it, spread, you went to the emergency room. What was it like for you going into the emergency room? Like, what was the treatment like? Like, did you feel as though they were competent enough? Like, what was that whole experience engaging care?
So when I went, they didn't really know too much what was going on, to be honest. It was more so they stood me in line with everyone else. It literally took for me to show the triage nurse. I showed my phone. I literally wrote it in my phone because I didn't know exactly what was going on. But I showed her my phone. I said, hey, I have monkeypox. She removed me from the back of the line all the way to the front. Then they isolated me in the room by myself. Um, it took about an hour before they actually came and put me in another room. And when I tell you they was dressed in hazmat suits, I was like, wait, what's going on? But I understood because just like with COVID, they didn't know anything that was going on. Um,
We'll
it was just
answer questions in the end. I'm sorry. I see you. I see the question, and I'll ask it in the end. Go
okay.
ahead.
Yes. But once they isolated me, the care, once they came in there, it was like confusion. Some
Mhm.
they wanted to scrape some of the bumps. Some of them wanted to bust some of the bumps. Um, Everyone assumed that I had to have sex to get it because of the community that I'm a part of. Um, and I had to push it out there. No, I didn't have sex. No, this wasn't something that I'd done with a group of people skin to skin, but it was different for me. It was an experience, like everyone else is just walking around. People didn't come to me at the time. I literally had to stand in out there to get them to come to see what's going on before they started sampling all the bumps and things.
Thank you. Were there any type of when they first diagnosed you and they quarantined you? What was the stay like? How long were you actually in the like quarantine? Like, was your stay there like what was it, 3 to 7 days, 3 to 5 days? Were you there like a week before they released you back home? Like, what was that like?
So for my quarantine, because I caught it at the beginning, um, I was only at the hospital for a few hours before they sent me home. I've been communicating with a lot of other folks that is also dealing with it. But those was that had chicken pox. We know the pink calamine lotion, helps dry them out. We know the Benadryl helps with the itching. The Tylenol help with the flu-like symptoms. So my experience is different from a lot others because I'm an open book. I don't mind trying new treatments. I don't mind trying the vaccines. I don't mind trying to help what's going to benefit me. Even though some folks are skeptical on these things, but me making the decision I made got me without any marks, without any blisters. Yes, it was depressing. Yes, it was stressful. Yes, I had bumps that, showed up in my groin area. Just like
And
some of the
those
folks.
were and the symptoms, like I've heard some people say it itches, not just like a regular itch, but an itch that prohibits you from doing your daily activity. It's just this persistent itch also, and that it's very painful.
Yes. So the itching, yes, like you said, it's worse than a mosquito bump. It's worse than the hives. It's just a constant itch with a pain at the same time around the bump area. Like I said, everyone's experience may be different, but I know for mine itself, around the bumps were painful. The bumps were itching constantly. I was in here patting like I had a cheap weave on just to keep from scratching.
Jesus.
Yes, that's how serious it was. A lot of people may think, oh, it's just scratching. No, it's the flu and the chicken pox combined, in my personal opinion, because I dealt with both.
Right. So again, I mean, and I know I asked this, but did they give you medications, and what was the medications? Because now they have um, like a shot to give you or something to give you if you're already exposed, right? I forget the exact terminology, but what did they give you to come home with? Because you said you went home within hours.
Yes. So the treatment that I had to start was called it's T-Pox. It's 84 pills for 2 weeks, 6 pills a day, 3 pills twice daily. Um, it has some bad side effects, but for me, my experience, I always took them after I dozed off. That way, I wouldn't deal with the side effects. Um, Within the 2 weeks of me being on the medication, I would say it sped up the process of the bumps and things drying out. Even though it's not approved by the FDA yet, that I know of, it helped speed up the process.
And how has healing been for you?
Um, the mental side, I'm gonna be honest. The physical side, I'm good. The mental side, as far as coming back, being around a lot of people, that's the part that still stuck with me because honestly, I dealt with the COVID. I dealt with this as well, and they have to be in isolation and continue to come back and be worried about, oh, I may catch something from the next person. It's kind of stressful because I was in a depressed state sitting in the home as well because I had to worry about my job. I had to worry about not being able to touch my pets and walk my pets. You know, how I'm gonna get food in my home, how I'm gonna get medication and things that I need, especially being positive as well. Because sure, I took my Biktarvy or went and got my, you know, my prescription. So a lot of things was all playing together.
And what has it been like coming back? Are you like talking to someone? Are you seeing someone professionally? Like, how has it been? Like, coming back, and I hate to say that, reintroducing yourself, or like just coming back and just being around. How has returning to work been for you?
Um, Work was a smooth transition returning back. It's the actual our community that we're turning back to is the part that still I'm still distant from. I haven't been to the Mizza Ball that was here, Neil's Ball that was here. I won't be out for Labor Day. I won't honestly be back around large crowds until October. Um, like I said, it's just me being around everyone. I already do, you know, the type of work I do, HIV and Hep C testing already, so I'm coming in contact with people, but they be in large crowds, knowing that every time something comes out, I hate to say it like this, but I get it. You know, um, it's kind of nerve wracking in a way. I don't care how real we say we are or where we say we from. When it's coming from someone else, or you got to deal with it internally, it's kind of nerve wracking.
Exactly. I'm so glad that you did. Did you have any support around you? Like, I was going to say, I'm so glad you had support, but then again, support looks different for each person, right? So, do you feel you had enough support around you? And in a sense, if like some people that we know, um, who are a part of our culture and may have tested positive and maybe, you know, through their healing journey with monkeypox, what are some helpful ways that we as a community could make sure that we support them?
Um, to be honest, I get everyone's think of the financial aspect because, of course, we need food. Of course, you may need some type of medicine to help if you're scared of getting on a treatment or anything. Um, I think the best help that everyone can give is being educated and the mental support because what I've seen on social media, because people are getting things like the monkeypox, instead of them trying to educate and uplift the next person, they bashing them on social media. Oh, this person had sex, that's why they got it in their ass, or they got it around their dick or in their mouth. Things like that is not making anything better. That's just like when HIV was around. You know what I'm saying? They called people sick, they called them nasty and dirty. These things right here, um, it's just stigma behind everything that comes out. And instead of educating one another, they're they're down on each other that makes things worse. People don't know who to trust, who they can come to and talk to for support. Whereas me, on the other hand, I want to say thank you to everyone that did reach out, whether it was financially, whether it was by calling or text. It did mean a lot to me, but stop down on others, because that don't help our community at all.
So you're saying some of the ways that community could look out is by making sure that the person who didn't know that may be impacted or actually has like the necessities like hygiene products,
Yes,
things to eat, whether they either order the food and have it delivered to them or however, just make sure that this community is support. What do you think are some of the challenges that people may have about coming forth and letting us know?
like I said, it's the being judged of how people thinking they got it. That's one large thing I would say, because at the end of the day, like I said, the news and everyone else is putting out there that we had to have sex to get this. That it's coming from, it's heavily populated in the LGBT community. These are the things that we hear. So things start with us. Or I can really just say it starts with us to help each other out, to help educate one another, to be there physically, mentally. I can't really elaborate any more than those two things.
I want to say thank you. I want you to stay on, but Tim, I know you're watching. If you can bring the doctor up as well, so she can help answer some of the questions. I think it's great that we always have like real conversations with real people in our community about how they overcome the challenge, right? And it's still challenging. Are you able to return back to work full time?
Yes, so I'll return back to work on the 27th to be exact, July. But I will say the infectious disease doctor and my primary care doctor still told me for another 21 days after being cleared, still try to avoid large crowds just to let my immunity and things build up. So, um, yes, even though things may seem like normal, it's kind of not at the same time. And then I still think about certain things of the experiences that I had to deal with while dealing with monkeypox and those that reach out to me, because it still happens like every other day or every week.
So now that you have and see, and this is why, like, this is a very, question that maybe you may answer, maybe the doctors have told you, or maybe not. But do you have any immunity now that you've already been exposed to it?
Well, from what I was told from, like I said, my infectious disease doctor and my primary care, once I dealt with it, I will have natural immunity. So, they not saying if they told me I didn't need the vaccine, but they not saying if I can catch it again or not. But they said I have natural immunity. But just like the vaccine, we still can get it. It just lessens the symptoms or the severity if you do. But once again, they didn't say if I can get it or not again.
Right. And that's been one of the conversations. I was just at a town hall earlier. And yes, there is a lot of different languages about who, qualifies for it, who needs it. And like we know with anything, like it doesn't stay in one place. COVID has taught us that, right? So we say it starts here and it goes. So while they're like centering the LGBTQ community, but we know that this thing doesn't only stay here, and there's a lot of conversations around the name, monkeypox, being
Right.
that it didn't originate in monkeys, you know. Um, that it's targeted, right? There's also like how they're censoring and gay, kind of like similar to what they did with HIV and AIDS. So these are all things. It's difficult to combat these stigmas when people keep, you know, talking like it's us.
Right.
But in reality, like we have to be honest about who we are and who we're sleeping with and checking for these things. But we normally don't do that sometimes, right? Not all, but some don't, right?
Yes.
So I think for now, like it hurts that it's us, but it is us. right? So now what are we going to do? Are we going to be upset that they're targeting us, or are we going to get the help that we need? So one question I want to ask you is, can you speak to how does the vax play out for you now that you've had the MPV?
Let's see, can I speak to how the vax play out? Okay, so like I said, they told me I don't have to get the vaccine. But me personally, I'm be honest, I've been thinking about it. But then at the same time, I'm like, okay, do I really want to put more of the, this virus antibodies into my body more than I already have? So it's kind of, I'm kind of 50-50 on weighing out my options on it. But I will be speaking with my doctor this week that, to actually get a full answer on that. If I answered the question that was asked, I can really see the little questions, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
Crystal Ray says the virus is going to overwhelm our healthcare system due to misinformation. Thank you for making sure factual information is out there. You're welcome. It's important that we as a community have those uncomfortable conversations about responsibility, safety, prevention, and care. We here at Ballroom, we are not the only people and the only spaces that are having this conversation. But normally, when those conversations are had, house and ballroom are not in the rooms for that. So we make sure that our voices are amplified here, and we speak in spaces that we are actually able to access to let them know that our people need the health care and the safety as well, and the protections like every other community. So I'm so glad that you came on, and we're gonna take some questions because there are a bunch of them that are coming up. So Nicholas Garnett says, "Did the blisters completely go away? Are there any scars?"
For me, yes, all of my blisters completely went away. As far as scars,
Yeah.
yeah, I have a few scars that still on my face that's still fading away, but for the most part, over my body, most of them have. Except for, I don't know if you guys can really see, but you might see on my face like it may look a little dark right here, for instance. That's where an actual scar, a bump was actually at, but it faded away. It don't look like a blister anymore. Or above my eyebrows. You don't really see anything on my face really anymore. So, yes, they did go away. It's all about how you managing it. Meaning, don't be scratching. Don't be when you bathing. I try not to use washcloths. I'm gonna be realistic. I didn't use washcloths when I bathed because the washcloths was literally scraping over the bumps or the scab, and you're pretty much transporting the pus from the bumps all over your body. So I tried to basically just soap in hands that way I wouldn't worry about scraping, busting anything, or transporting anything. I hope that answer your question, Nicholas.
Does anybody else have any questions? We're just waiting for the doctor to come on as well, so they could answer like those hard questions,
Got to the
the
medical.
yeah, the clinical questions that people, are looking to get some answers to, and hopefully, this will be able to empower us to go and get vaccinated. Like right after this tonight at Baldwin We Care and Housing Work have partnered together to provide vaccinations at OTA.
And
So for the
don't be
community,
scared. If
uh,
if you have a bump, don't be scared. To go get checked up. Stop thinking every bump is an ingrown hair or acne or a pimple. If it's itching more than normal, go get a checkup. It's simple.
awesome.
Nothing wrong.
And if you can't make it to tonight, OTA, to get vaccinated, and you're here in the Bronx or in the state of New York and you are of the community and you're looking to get vaccinated, you can go ahead and call Destination Tomorrow. The address is 452 East 149th Street and 3rd Ave. Listen, it's not a game. I mean, like we can sit here and act like it's a game or it's not going to happen to me, but it can happen to any one of us. So I encourage you to get vaccinated, and I'm not sitting there pushing it, but I think the best way that we show ourselves that we love ourselves and others is by protecting ourselves. So therefore, we can protect others. I'm vaccinated. I got vaccinated by Baldwin We Care. Me and my husband and my kids got vaccinated at Destination Tomorrow. So if you guys are looking to get vaccinated, please DM me or call Destination Tomorrow to get your vaccination appointments. So does anyone have, if I may say, brother, you look great. That's what Kai said.
Thanks, Kai. Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
So I'm glad that you like talked about it. Like what else do, like what are some things that came up for you? Like doing this whole thing, like did you did you feel empowered right away? Like I'm gonna tell them like was there any thought like maybe I shouldn't do this?
I'm gonna be honest. Just like anyone else at the beginning, I had a little doubts. I'm like, I'm gonna just deal with this struggle by myself. But then, like I just said, the last word, myself, is what stuck out the most. When I became positive, I felt like I was dealing with this by myself. And of course, we know it's more people dealing with this. So once this happened, the doubt hit me first, but the word myself is what stuck out more. And I know how others may have felt being alone, feeling like they going through something by themselves. So that's what pushed me to want to have the courage to get out there and say, hey, this is what's going on. I hope I can start going to these balls or the Soul Summit or these large gatherings. This is real and you're not alone. That's how I personally was taking it. Um, I made jokes out of it because that's to keep me from being depressed sitting here by myself most of the time. But that was just helping me get to the light and the end and through this irritating virus. That's what it is irritating and annoying.
But I'm glad that you were brave enough because, like, we know that as a community, like, some of us just won't, and it's not like we'll not have the safety or feel safe
Right.
or feel supported enough to come forward, and they may be not showing up. Like, you may be thinking, oh, they just like falling back for a while. It could be some other things going on.
True.
I encourage you, like, I'm one person who will call and just say, hey, I'm just checking in, how you doing? And that's me, right? But I encourage all of us to do that, not just surrounding monkeypox, but we need to make sure that, we're checking in on one another. Nicholas has another question. And did you have any side effects after the vaccination?
So I didn't get vaccinated yet. That was something I was saying that I was going to discuss with my primary care once again because I'm 50-50 with it. They told me I didn't need it because of the natural immunity after overcoming the pox. I'm gonna just say pox instead of mpox or whatever they want to call it. But they basically said I didn't need it, but they didn't state that I can get it again. So it's like I don't really have the answers to if I'm going to get that. But at the same time, I don't want to dump more of those antibodies in my body when I just dealt with everything physically. Oh, that's for you, Tab. But he said the question was for the host as far as the
Oh,
vaccine.
thank you, Nicholas. Okay, so no, I actually didn't have any side effects at all. I mean, I've heard different stories of people being a little sore or there being like a knot, like on their arm, and then like goes away over the 2 weeks. For some, it may take a little while longer. I know that this strain or some of the vaccine is the same vaccine that had great results when they were fighting smallpox. So this is somewhat of the same vaccine, and they're monitoring it and they're seeing that as Dominic was saying. So that's what's in the vaccine. They're seeing high results of people actually being able to come and get the first dose to help prevent it, or if you have it, stuff like that. So these things are important, for us to be aware of, right? So I know there are a lot of myths and a lot of things around not getting vaccinated. I didn't have anything, any side effects. There was no reason for me to be out of work. I was able to function. My partner, on the other hand, arm was a little bit sore, but he still went to work. So everyone is different, right? But I didn't have any side effects, and I don't think that there's any, but other than the common headache or drowsiness and stuff like that. But no real side effects to be alarmed about. I hope that answers your question. Um, Johnny says, on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being the most severe pain, how was your experience with the pain?
So one thing that I didn't really announce that was on social media, I said a small portion, but I didn't really go into great detail. I will be at an 8 as far as the pain, and that was more so around the groin area because I don't know if a lot of people that's up here recall me saying that I had one of the blisters on the side of my penis. What that did was that literally made my entire shaft of my penis swell up, where it almost gave like I was uncircumcised and it was covering the head of my penis. Um, and by doing that, my groin area was swollen up, my lymph nodes were swollen up. So when it went time for me to urine or to piss, it felt like I had gone real because it was pressing up against the tube. It was like painful for me to piss. It was painful for me to literally sit down and try to take a number two because every time I sat down, I'm pressing on my groin area, and by me doing that, the blister was always popping down there, and it was pus always constantly coming out until it dried up and healed up. So yes, that part right there was like one of the worst experiences that I had to deal with. Um, I didn't put it on. I didn't put that picture on Facebook, of course.
They would have been too bad.
Yeah, yes. That stayed in the pants, swollen. But other than that, like I said, 8 was the worst for me.
Do we have any more questions? So we're just waiting for the doctor to come on, and I believe Tim is going to grab her in a few minutes. I just, like I said again, I just really, really want to say thank you. And for those who are watching, share the live. This information is definitely important. And I do understand that I believe James had said earlier, if that's the name, hold on, because I don't want to say the wrong name. Jay St. James had said earlier that, you know, people have different experiences and some are more severe than others.
Yes,
Um, but that's the case, right? Because everyone is only like everyone is different and everyone reacts different to either vaccinations or exposure.
right,
So, like, there's no one way to treat this. So we have to like continue to raise our voices and be visible and have this conversation with our communities. And every piece of information that you get concerning it, tell your friend, tell your partner, tell your neighbor. Make sure that we're quick to spread rumors, but let's be quick to spread things that's going to save our lives. I
right,
need you to have that urgency to go and tell someone about what you're hearing here, information that you may find somewhere else. It's important that the information gets back to us by us. And we have another question here. What do you think was lacking from providers that you wished could have happened or that you wish you could have received?
Um, I can't really give an answer to that because if it's new for them, I can't really say back in. Other than I'm in New York, a lot of New Yorkers lack professionalism. When it comes down to treatment, it's pretty much like they just push you to the side until they try to figure out what's going on. So I would say, look, empathy. They need to have some sort of understanding. Yes, it's contagious or whatever, but let's remember that they're still humans and not that they're LGBT and they dealing with another virus or something. One this once again a virus that can affect anyone or any person or whatever you consider yourself, whether you're non-binary, cisgender, trans, it affects us all.
I mean, I think there's a level of cultural competency that needs to be across the board because, like, I know how difficult it could be for some trans people as they go. Like, for me, I'm trans feminine, right? And when I went there, they were looking at me like I was in the wrong place.
Yeah.
and I have to disclose, right? So for them to have competence around that, we don't all look like how you expect us to look like, and that if we're telling you that we're a part of the community, like all those stereotypes goes in there because they found my husband's, they couldn't find my name. So I could think of countless other trans women like myself
Right.
can meet some of those barriers as they want to access it, right? I just think like cultural competency is very important. And let's not exclude our sex workers community and our immigrant community who
Yeah.
may not have the language access to understand. Like, it's important that we tell our community the resources that's out there, where they can go and get it, and make sure that it's accessible to our communities. Because there's those people who may not have access to
These resources.
technology or these resources. So are we saying forget about them? You
No.
know? So there's a lot of things that, I and others are working to making sure that we secure and make sure our communities are safe. Like Destination Tomorrow in the Bronx having hitting the ground running, giving out vaccinations here in the Bronx.
Yes.
Amazing organization, one that we trust right here in the Bronx. We also have Barbara We Care and Housing Work was also on board with getting the mobile vaccines out there. And we're about to have the doctor up here just to answer those questions. So, hey,
And
if you have those questions that was not answered and you want to ask them now, I need you to get those questions ready. Dom, feel free to ask the question as well. We're going to be joined by Sophie.
also, let's not forget Donald Powell before Sophie gets to take the floor. Donald Powell at Exponents, they really been doing a great job as far as pushing out there the vaccines as well. So kudos.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I'm so sorry. And Donald has been here the whole time. So thank you also to Donald Power and his team over there and the Cobos for actually getting the people their appointments, regardless of identity, immigration status, or stance in life. So thank you for the work you're doing as well. Hi, Sophie. How are you?
Hey, Sophie.
Oh,
So, Sophie, for
hi.
those who are tuning in, can you tell them who you are and where you work?
Okay. For some reason, I can't really hear. I'm going to put on my headphones. But I'm Sophie Narani. I'm the Assistant Director of Community Health at the Ryan Chelsea Clinton Community Health Center in Hell's Kitchen, formerly of Callan Lord Bronx. And I've been leading the monkeypox response at our center since late June.
Okay. And as you're there working, what are some of the more prevalent demographics that you're seeing that the numbers are increasing in? Just for statistic and just for, just so people have the information.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really surprising is that we sort of thought that, like, if, we thought, oh, if someone hasn't had sexual contact for 3 weeks, it's kind of not possible that they'll have monkeypox. But I'm seeing people come who, um, it was longer ago than that because, they could have 15 days before they get like a sore throat and they may not think of anything of the sore throat. And then it's another 5 days. And then, at some points it's like it's been like over 30 days or even longer, honestly. So I'm just seeing it pop up in my patients who are like, I haven't done anything since whatever. So I mean, we still have our incubation period of average of 7 days, but I think if someone has symptoms now and they haven't been active since early July, like they should still consider the possibility. In terms of vaccination, I know there's a lot of questions around the second dose. I think I mean, I cannot speak for the Department of Health, obviously, but they did just give my clinic 200 doses, and they pledged to give us 200 more to do second doses. So I'm just telling people, like, if they call you, go. If the Department of Health calls you and offers you an appointment, for your second dose, take it, you know? And if you don't hear, just like lay low, like we'll figure it out. You do have a lot of protection still from the first dose. People who got it after they got the first dose or like at the same time are having milder symptoms. Like I'm seeing people with like 1 or 2 like pimples rather than like these really large characteristic pox. So that's been kind of confusing because it's like everyone has a red bump on their body, you know? I mean, we don't all think that we all have monkeypox. So, yeah, it just seems to be changing in nature, but it looks like the rates are really going down.
That's helpful.
And I heard you mention Destination Tomorrow. I know they've been vaccinating. Has it been difficult for people to get appointments there to vaccinate?
That has not been what I'm hearing. Everyone has been getting their vaccinations done and on time. And if you have other streams of actually getting people to get vaccinated, feel free to put that in there and say that so they can connect with you as well on getting the vaccine. But yes, Destination Tomorrow is definitely here. They've been giving out vaccinations and they've been able to get you right in. It's just a simple call. So there's a question from the audience. Can the doctor explain the rationale for the shift in vax dosing in layman's terms?
Excuse me. Yes. So to my understanding, the first dose gives people a solid amount of protection. I don't know that number has been quantified, but my understanding is that this is kind of like a COVID situation where getting first doses to everybody, so people who do get it don't get as sick, is the priority. So I think given that like the shortage of first doses is not necessarily the hugest issue in New York City right now, I think it is around the country. I think that's just the rationale, but I think they want to give second doses and the most protection comes from 2 doses. So, yeah, so I think people should just sit tight. Like if they got theirs 4 weeks ago and they're like, why am I not getting it? I think every day things change, but I do think that the eventual goal is for everybody to get both doses. And there's this talk about people leaving the city and going to like Westchester and stuff to like sneak and get their second doses. I mean, people can do that, obviously, but I think we all agree it's better for everyone to get their first dose. But the question is, are the people who are getting it actually at risk, right? Like my clinic was like, oh, run a list of our like PrEP patients and our HIV patients. I'm like, yeah, but like some of my HIV patients and my PrEP patients are not sexually active. So we can vaccinate all of them, but then we're wasting vaccine, right? If they're not doing anything. So there's not really a profile of a person. I have patients in monogamous relationships or like semi-monogamous relationships. It really seems to have no boundaries as to who it affects. Oh, the 1 becoming 5.
So wait, that kind of dispels the whole sexually transmitted thing, right?
I mean, not really. Like if I have a celibate HIV patient, I'm not going to vaccinate him. I'd rather vaccinate someone who's in their 30s and sexually active. You know, I think, I'm not saying it's sexually transmitted, of course, but I think physical contact is part of it. And like some of my patients are like celibate, live alone, like where are they going to get monkeypox? So I don't actually think that just targeting HIV patients or targeting PrEP patients is the best idea. But I think that's what a lot of organizations will do when they're trying to get the outreach. In terms of the 5 dose thing, we're not doing that here. So for one dose to be divided into 5 doses, it has to be given into the skin rather than the fatty tissue. And that requires special training. And so we're not doing that in New York. So 200 doses is 200 doses. It's not 1,000 doses. If you go to the store and groceries, I mean, my patients who have monkeypox, I just tell them to cover up their spots and go do what they need to do when it's not busy at the grocery store. I certainly don't see this as something that people are getting on the train or the subway. I think it's more likely a party or a small gathering where people are like around a table together or sitting on a couch together for a while. I don't think this is really like I brushed by someone at the grocery store and I got monkeypox. I haven't seen that. I've seen people who weren't sexually active get monkeypox, but they were like, oh, I was at like a really big party and I was touching a lot of people, like making out with people and like touching people. So, and then there's the whole cloth towels and sheets thing as well.
So then it's not sexually transmitted.
It's not, no. But people tend to be close when they're sexually and having sexual contact. So that's an easy way to like, for us who don't stigmatize sex, it's an easy way for me to say like, oh, my patients aren't sexually active. Like, because I don't think of that with any like value, you know, but for people who like, as a group, we want to be like, we don't want sex to be considered to be something that's dangerous, bad, or whatever. So I think close physical contact is really the best you can really say. Over 50 smallpox vaccination as a child. So to my understanding, I just read up on this because this question comes up all the time. So it looks like people who got the vaccine when they were younger do have protection. I think after 30 years, they don't feel that that protection is as good, but it could still be better than nothing, if that makes sense. If someone got the smallpox vaccine as a child, they should still get the monkeypox vaccine now. If they got it in the last 3 years, they don't need to get it. But if people got it like remotely as children and they're in close contact with other people, then they should still get the monkeypox vaccine now. Respiratory droplets in the subway. Yeah, I mean, it's not appearing to spread like COVID in the same way. So I think respiratory droplets, if I'm like slow dancing with someone or sitting on the couch with them, talking and like spittling on their face, I think that's a moment that it can be transmitted.
So I can say that I was just at a town hall and that came up as well about transportation and shopping, and there has not, according to Department of Health, DOH, that they haven't had any like no one come in, like it hasn't been traced that way, like no one has came in and have orthopods as a result of riding the subway or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm treating like 43 people right now, and all of them were like, I know when I got it. Like, no one was like, where did this happen? How did this happen? Like, everyone was like, they were like, oh, I must have got it at that party, or I must have got it when I spent the night at my friend's house and there was like 10 of us in the room. Or, you know, it wasn't really, did I get it at the grocery store? Items at the grocery store that may be contaminated. I don't think that's an issue. Natural and so sorry, I'm intrigued by seeing these questions coming in.
Yeah, so I'll read the questions. I want to keep them in order. So Kai was saying, so I'm think I'm understanding that are there any protections that we should take when getting groceries from the store? Because if someone has a lesion and grabs the fruit and then I go and grab the fruit after, like, are there any precautions that someone should take?
I don't know 100%, but like, I certainly don't think so. I mean, we in our clinic have had tons of patients with monkeypox coming in, like using pens, clipboards, papers, bathrooms. We clean the best that we can, but that doesn't mean I haven't been using a pen or, a toilet or whatever that a patient who's infected has it. So all of the smart people are saying that objects will not transmit it unless it's an absorbent object like a towel or a sheet that the person like slept on and like sweated on and like got some crust on. I just think it's a little less contagious than that. And that's why we only have a few thousand cases rather than like COVID that spreads by airborne. We had so many more cases so much faster. If you look at the map now, we're actually going down. And I think that has to do with, obviously there was Pride in June, so people were just out more, but I do think there's been movement in the community to lay low and let it pass or wait till everyone's vaccinated. I really do think that that is happening. My patients who have monkeypox, they're really worried about giving it to other people. They're not just like going to the club, they're like staying home. They're like, what do I do with my boyfriend or my roommate? But I do have patients whose roommates and boyfriends and didn't get it. I have lots of patients whose boyfriends didn't get it, who like the one person got it and their partner didn't get it. So I just think it has to be a little closer contact than something that's going to happen in public when you're running your errands. I wouldn't be worried about that when you're running your day-to-day errands.
So there's one more question. Doc, can you tell us about the live vaccination?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a little different than the historical live vaccine. It's not replicating. So when it goes into your body, it's not making copies like a live vaccine, which is why it's safe for using in people who, for example, have a low CD4 count. So if I have a patient with 100 CD4 count, I'm still going to give them the vaccine because they may get some protection. And even if they don't, they're not going to be hurt by it.
So one more question before we go. Are you able to get it twice?
Monkeypox?
Yeah.
Yes, I do believe you are, but I think that the immunity you get from an infection, the natural infection, lasts a certain amount of time. I don't know what amount of time that is, but I think it's at least a year. So I don't think this is going to be like, I mean, I'm thinking if the smallpox vaccine given now works for 3 years, I've been sort of making the same guess about a natural infection, but I don't think this is like COVID where someone's going to get it like twice in 1 year. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to mutate. I don't really see it on that scale right now. I don't know if things will change. I hope it's been contained by our actions, honestly, and knowledge. Paranoid, yeah. You can go shopping.
So I want to say thank you for showing up in the interest of time, because there is a mobile vaccine unit that is at OTA, and I would like to be there to volunteer to help get my community vaccinated. Do you have any questions, Dominic, for the doc, for Sophie?
Pretty honestly, everything that the doc actually was saying, I pretty much was on the same as far as with the information. We pretty much in this, everything she said is pretty much the same thing I was hearing from the infectious disease doctor and from our primary care. So as far as like she was saying, as far as like towels and beddings and things, as far as transmitting to one another, the people shouldn't really have any issues as long as they, you know, like she said, it's nothing that's absorbent that they can transmit or someone can touch and transmit it to the next person. So honestly, I'm great. I'm glad that the doctor came up here and, from a medical standpoint, you know, help answer a lot of the questions. Because I'm not in the medical field, of course. I may work at a nonprofit organization, but I'm just someone that speaks from experience, whereas she can answer from the medical side as well.
Which is
So
why
thank
we
you.
thought it was important.
Yeah, I'm glad we're all saying the same things. I mean, I didn't mention that it definitely has been detected in semen and a good amount, enough to be considered a risk for transmission. But again, that's not the only way. But we didn't know if it was in sexual fluids until I think last week.
So here's the thing. I thought it was important to have the doctor for the professional and you for your lived experience. You are ballroom, you are community, and you are a father of your own house. And it is important that your kids see that you give voice to make sure that they stay protected. And you being vulnerable like this is very powerful. And I want to say thank you for coming and giving us your personal, experience with this because it's needed. So thank you for joining the conversation. Again, you've always been here in the earlier preset, making sure that these conversations come to the forefront. We want to say thank you to Sophie. I think Sophie got disconnected, and I'm glad that she was able to come and give us her professional piece about it as she continues to vaccinate and keep our people protected as well. So thank you. Do you have anything you want to say to anyone before we leave?
No, all I want to just say honestly is thank everyone for listening and paying attention to some of my posts. Thank you to everyone that reached out via inbox. Thanks to those that helped financially. I know I didn't go back on Facebook and say it, but I like to say things live so you all can hear my voice while I'm saying it. Um, and I'm still gonna stay goofy and still be informative and help out. And I'm still gonna read the next person that's being ignorant. But other than that, I love ballroom. I love people. I love y'all.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank y'all.